My dad sent me a text 48 hours before my wedding refusing to walk me down the aisle because his new wife, who is 3 years older than me, said it was disrespectful to their new family. He then tried to cancel the reception in his backyard to teach me a lesson. But he forgot one massive detail that would make him homeless. I was standing in the bridal suite of the hotel when the phone buzzed. It was sitting on a velvet ottoman, next to a pair of Jimmy Choo heels I had worked 3 months of overtime to afford. $1,200 for the shoes, $4,500 for the dress hanging on the rack, and $0 for the fatherly support I was supposedly getting. I picked up the phone. The screen was bright. Too bright. Sender. Time, 10:43 a.m. Thursday. The text was a wall of blue. No paragraph breaks. Just a stream of consciousness that felt like it had been dictated by someone else. Someone with a very specific vocabulary. It read, Sarah, Brenda and I have been talking. We feel that me giving you away is an antiquated tradition that prioritizes your past over my present. It is disrespectful to Brenda as my new primary family to elevate you publicly like that. I will attend as a guest, but only if Brenda is included in the bridal party photos to show unity. Also, we need to discuss the backyard reception. Brenda feels it's an imposition on our privacy. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the phone. I just stared at the words, primary family. Primary. Like I was a subscription service he was downgrading to the basic tier. My maid of honor, Jess, walked in holding a steamer. She saw my face. What? She asked. Did the florist cancel? Worse, I whispered. Dad just fired himself. I handed her the phone. Jess read it. Her eyes went wide, then narrow. Brenda wrote this, she said. Dad doesn't use the word antiquated. Dad uses the word old. I know, I said. And imposition? That's Brenda speak for, I want attention. My stomach twisted. Not because I was losing my escort down the aisle, but because of where the reception was. The backyard. His backyard. Or so he thought. The wedding was Saturday. 150 guests were flying in. The caterers had already prepped the menu. $32,000 in deposits. Gone. If he locked the gate, the wedding was over. I sat down on the floor. In my expensive robe. I felt 6 years old again. Small. Waiting for him to pick me up from soccer practice. He was late then too. He was always late. But this wasn't lateness. This was leverage. I typed back. Dad, the wedding is in 48 hours. The tent is going up tomorrow morning. We can talk about the walk, but the reception has to happen. Please don't do this. 3 bubbles appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. The response came 2 minutes later. It's my house, Sarah. My rules. If you can't respect Brenda's position in my life, you can't use our home for your party. Fix the attitude or find a new venue. Fix the attitude. I laughed. A dry hacking sound. He was holding my wedding hostage. He thought he had all the power. He thought he was the king of the castle. And for the last 3 years I had let him believe that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand why this text message was the biggest mistake of his life, you have to understand the house. And the money. Specifically, the $450,000 I spent to make sure he didn't die under a bridge. Let's talk about Brenda. Brenda is 29. I am 26. My dad is 58. Do the math. Actually don't. It's depressing. Brenda met my dad at a gym where she worked the front desk. My dad was going through a midlife crisis that involved a lot of spray tan and a leased Corvette he couldn't afford. He introduced her to me 6 months ago as his soulmate. I called her the budget crisis. Not to her face. Obviously. To her face I was polite. I was the dutiful daughter. The daughter who paid the cell phone bill. The daughter who handled the insurance. The daughter who made sure the property taxes didn't go into arrears. Dad isn't rich. Dad isn't even comfortable. Dad is a visionary. That's code for unemployed for 6 years with a series of failed startups. His last venture was a custom dog food delivery service. It failed because he forgot to buy the food. Before that, it was a crypto mining rig in the garage that just melted the siding off the house. When my mom left him 5 years ago, she took the savings, which was fair since she earned them. Dad got the debt, and he was about to be homeless. I was 21 then, fresh out of college, working 80 hours a week at a high-frequency trading firm in the city. I was making good money. Great money. And I couldn't watch my dad live in his car. So I made a move. I bought a house in the Hamptons. Not the billionaire lane Hamptons. The working class locals Hamptons. Springs. A 3-bedroom ranch with peeling paint and a massive backyard. It was a foreclosure. I paid cash. $310,000. Then I put another $140,000 into renovations. New roof. A chef's kitchen because Dad liked to entertain. The deal was simple. Dad could live there. He would pay rent to cover the taxes and upkeep. $800 a month. Market rate was $3,000. I gave him the family discount. The please don't be homeless discount. But here's where it gets interesting. Dad loves to brag. He loves to look successful. So when he met Brenda, he didn't tell her, I rent a house from my daughter who pays my bills. He told her, I own an estate in East Hampton. And I let him. Why? Because it was easier than embarrassing him. I let him play the big shot. I let him pretend he was the lord of the manor. I stayed in the city. I only visited on holidays. And when I did, Brenda treated me like a guest. A nuisance guest. I remember last Thanksgiving. I drove out to the house. My house. Brenda had redecorated the living room. He took down the photos of me and my mom. She put up live, laugh, love signs. Everywhere. In gold foil. She also moved my stuff into the garage. We needed the space for my yoga studio, she said. She was sipping wine out of a glass I bought. Also, Sarah, she said, swirling the Pinot Grigio. Knock next time. It's rude to just walk into a married couple's home. My key was in the door. The door I bought. Sorry, I said. I'll remember that. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted copper. I did it for him. Because he seemed happy. Or at least he seemed distracted enough not to ask me for money. Fast forward to the wedding planning. 6 months ago. I was looking at venues. Vineyards. Hotels. Prices were insane. $50,000 just for the site fee. Dad called me. Sarah, honey, he said. Why waste the money? Do it at the house. The backyard is huge. I've been working on the landscaping. It's my gift to you. I was touched. Honestly. I thought maybe he appreciates everything I've done. Are you sure? I asked. Of course, he said. Brenda is excited to host. It'll be the event of the season. Host. There was that word again. Like they were doing me a favor. Like they were the benefactors. But I agreed. I spent $20,000 on landscaping his yard. I put in a new patio. I paid for the tent deposit. I routed all the vendor contracts through my email. Except one. The liability insurance for the catering company. And that brings us back to the hotel room. Thursday morning. The text message. Fix the attitude or find a new venue. I was pacing the room now. My dress was still hanging there. A ghost of the happiness I was supposed to feel. Jess was scrolling through my dad's Facebook. Look at this, she said. He turned the screen to me. Brenda had posted a status update 20 minutes ago. Selfie. Her ring finger was in the foreground. The caption, setting boundaries with toxic stepchildren is self-care. My husband and I are reclaiming our peace. Hashtag new chapter, hashtag my house, my rules, hashtag boy mom. She doesn't have a son. She has a cat named Tyler. Toxic, I whispered. I paid for that phone she tweeted from. I paid for the data plan. I paid for the roof over her head while she reclaimed her peace. I looked at the receipts on my laptop. Google Sheets. Tab 4. Dad's expenses. March. $800 rent, unpaid. April. $800 rent, unpaid. May. $800 rent, paid, partial, $200. June. $800 rent, unpaid. He hadn't paid rent in 6 months. Since the wedding planning started. He told me, things are tight with the wedding prep. I let it slide. I always let it slide. Because I wanted a dad. I wanted him to walk me down the aisle. I wanted the fantasy. But the fantasy just sent me a ransom note. I picked up my phone. I was about to call him. To beg. To apologize. To promise Brenda she could wear a white dress if she wanted. I was about to fold. Because that's what victims of emotional blackmail do. We fold to keep the peace. Then my phone rang. It wasn't Dad. It was the wedding planner. Lisa was a shark in a blazer. I liked her. Sarah, Lisa said. Her voice was tight. Hey Lisa, I said, trying to sound normal. Everything okay? We have a problem with the tent, she said. My heart stopped. Did he lock the gate? No, Lisa said. The tent company needs the liability waiver signed today, or they can't set up tomorrow. It's a zoning thing in East Hampton. Strict liability laws. Hey, I said. Send it over. I'll sign it. I can't, Lisa said. Why not? Because, Lisa said, the form requires the signature of the legal property owner on the deed. I sent it to your dad because he said it was his house. But he just called me. I held my breath. What did he say, Lisa? He refused to sign it, Lisa said. He told me, and I quote, "Tell my ungrateful daughter that the landlord is on strike until she apologizes to my wife." He hung up. Silence. The room was dead silent. Jess was watching me. He called himself the landlord, I said softly. Yes, Lisa said. So, we're stuck. Unless you can get him to sign, we have no tent. No reception. Something snapped in my brain. It wasn't a loud snap. It was a quiet metallic click. Like a safety being switched off. Lisa, I said. My voice sounded different. Come. Yes. Send me the document. Sir, I told you. Has to be the owner. If the signature doesn't match the deed registry, the permit is void. We could get shut down by the cops mid-reception. I know, I said. So we need your dad. No, Lisa, I said. We don't. I walked over to the window. I looked out at the city skyline. Send me the document, Lisa. I'll sign it. Sarah, you're not listening. I am listening, I cut her off. I'll sign it. Because I am the owner. Silence on the line. What? I own the house, Lisa. The deed is in my name. My Evie. Phoenix Properties. That's me. My dad is a tenant. A tenant who hasn't paid rent in 6 months. A long pause. Then I heard the sound of typing on Lisa's end. Oh, Lisa said. Oh my God. Yeah, I said. So, he has no legal standing to stop the tent? None. And he has no legal standing to kick you off the property? None. Does he know that? Lisa asked. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. He forgot, I said. He's played the role of rich homeowner for so long he actually believes it. He believes his own con. Okay, Lisa said. Her voice changed. She sounded excited. I'm sending the DocuSign. You sign it. The tent goes up at 8 a.m. Perfect, I said. Sarah. Lisa added. Yeah. What are you going to do about him? I looked at the text message from my dad again. My house. My rules. I looked at the Jimmy Choo shoes. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. I didn't look scared anymore. I looked like someone who negotiates hostile takeovers for a living. I'm going to follow his rules, I said. He wants to treat this like a business transaction? Fine. I'm going to handle him like a non-compliant asset. I hung up. Jess, I said. Yeah. Get your laptop. Why? We need to write a letter. And I need you to find a process server who works on weekends. I spent the next 4 hours not crying but drafting. I called my lawyer David. David is a real estate attorney who specializes in landlord-tenant disputes in New York. He's expensive. And he has zero sense of humor. Perfect. You want to serve him at the wedding? David asked. He sounded tired. He was eating a salad. I could hear the crunch of croutons over the speakerphone. No, I said. I want to serve him before the cake cutting. But after the speeches. That's cold, Sarah. He tried to cancel my wedding via text message, David. He threatened to lock me out of a property I pay the mortgage on. Point taken, David said. Crunch. Hey. Technically in New York you need to give proper notice. Since he has no lease, he's a month-to-month tenant. You have to give him a 30-day notice to terminate. Draft it, I said. If he doesn't leave in 30 days, we file for eviction. It could take months. I don't care how long it takes, I said. I just want the clock to start. Saturday. Okay, David said. I'll email you the PDF. You print it. You hand it to him. But Sarah. Yeah. Make sure you have security. If he thinks he owns the place and you hand him an eviction notice in front of his friends, it's going to get ugly. I hired 2 off-duty cops for the reception, I said. They think they're just there for crowd control. Good, David said. Happy wedding day. I hung up. I felt a strange sense of calm. The gray rock method. That's what my therapist calls it. You become a gray rock. Boring. Unresponsive. You give the narcissist nothing to feed on. I needed Dad to think he had one. I needed him to feel safe enough to open the gate and let the caterers in. If I fought him now, he might change the locks before the tent went up. I had to play dead. I texted Dad back. Time, 2:15 p.m. Dad. You're right. I'm sorry. The stress got to me. I respect you and Brenda and your home. I won't ask you to walk me. Please, let's just have a nice reception. I'll make sure Brenda is included in the photos. I'll be there tomorrow to drop off the final check for the cleaners. It hurt to type. It physically hurt. My thumbs rebelled against the lies. But I hit send. The response was immediate. Thank you, Sarah. I'm glad you came to your senses. We appreciate the apology. Brenda is looking for a dress color that matches the bridesmaids. See you tomorrow. He bought it, Jess said. He's arrogant, I said. Arrogance makes you sloppy. The next day, Friday, was a blur of acting. I drove out to the Hamptons. I pulled into the driveway. The grass was perfectly cut. I paid for the landscaper. The house was freshly painted. I paid for the painters. Dad was standing on the porch holding a scotch. It was 11 a.m. Brenda was next to him, wearing oversized sunglasses and a kaftan. She looked like she was auditioning for a reality show about rich housewives. I got out of the car. Hey, sweetie. Dad called out. He was smiling. The benevolent king granting audience to a peasant. Hi, Dad, I said. I hugged him. He smelled like expensive cologne and entitlement. Hi, Brenda, I said. Brenda lowered her sunglasses. Sarah. We're so glad you decided to be mature about this. Me too, I said. I just want everyone to be happy. Well, Brenda said, gesturing to the backyard. The tent people are here. I told them where to set up. I didn't want them ruining my hydrangeas. Thanks, Brenda, I said. That's so helpful. And, she added, I was thinking since I'm technically the hostess I should sit at the head table. The head table. With the groom and me. My mom. My mom who Dad cheated on. My mom who worked 2 jobs while Dad found himself. That sounds logical, I lied. Great, Brenda said. I'll tell the planner. I walked through the house. It was surreal. Walking through a house you own where you are treated like an intruder. I saw a stack of mail on the counter. Final notice, stamped on an envelope from the electric company. Dad's name. I flipped it over. Past due, $480. I took a picture of it when they weren't looking. Just for the file. I went into the backyard. The tent was going up. It was beautiful. Sailcloth. Wooden poles. It was going to be the perfect setting for a massacre. I saw the planner, Lisa. He caught my eye. She gave me a tiny, imperceptible nod. He knew. I winked. I spent an hour smoothing things over. I listened to Dad talk about how hard it was to manage an estate of this size. I listened to Brenda complain about the noise the caterers were making. It's so disruptive, she sighed. I can't even hear my meditation app. I'm so sorry, Brenda, I said. It'll be over soon. It better be, she said. I left around 1 p.m. I sat in my car at the end of the driveway. I watched the house in the rearview mirror. I thought about the last 3 years. The checks I wrote. The times I defended him to my friends. He's just going through a hard time. The times I defended him to my mom. He's trying, Mom. He wasn't trying. He was feeding. He was a parasite. And Brenda was a tick on the parasite. I drove to the nearest FedEx office. I printed 2 copies of the document David had sent me. Notice to terminate tenancy. To Mark Reynolds and all occupants. Property, 14 Briarwood Lane. From Phoenix Properties LC. Looked so official. So crisp. I bought a nice envelope. Cream-colored. Linen finish. The kind you put a thank you card in. Or a wedding gift. I sealed the document inside. I wrote Dad and Brenda on the front in my best calligraphy. Then I drove to the hotel. I had a rehearsal dinner to attend. I had to put on a smile. I had to hug my mom and not tell her that her ex-husband was about to implode. I had to look my fiancé Mike in the eye and tell him, it's handled. Mike is a good guy. He's an engineer. He likes structure. When I told him the plan that night, he stared at me. You're going to evict him? At the wedding? No, I said. I'm going to give him notice. The eviction happens if he doesn't leave. Sarah, Mike said. That is biblical. He tried to cancel us, Mike. He tried to cancel us. Mike nodded. He said. I'll tell the groomsmen to stay sober until the cake. Just in case. The wedding day. Saturday. The weather was perfect. 72 degrees. No humidity. The kind of day you pray for. The ceremony was at a small chapel in town. My brother walked me down the aisle. Not Dad. Dad sat in the front pew with Brenda. Brenda was wearing white. Not off-white. Not cream. White. A white lace cocktail dress. It was so blatant that guests were whispering as they walked in. Is she wearing white? Who does that? I walked past them. Dad looked smug. He gave me a little nod like he was proud of himself for allowing this to happen. Brenda didn't look at me. She was checking her reflection in her phone screen. I didn't care. I looked at Mike. I married the man I loved. I said the vows. And for 30 minutes I forgot about them. I forgot about the house. The rent. The betrayal. I was just happy. Then came the reception. We drove to the house. The backyard was transformed. Fairy lights. White linen tables. A jazz band playing soft standards. It looked like a magazine spread. Dad was standing at the entrance to the tent, greeting guests. Like it was his party. Welcome, he was saying. Glad you could make it to our home. Yes, we did the landscaping recently. Thank you. He was soaking it up. The adoration. The respect. He was playing the role of the generous patriarch. I walked in with Mike. We did the first dance. We did the toast. My maid of honor gave a speech about loyalty. My best man gave a speech about partnership. Then Dad grabbed the microphone. He wasn't scheduled to speak. I tensed. Mike squeezed my hand under the table. The two security guards, burly guys in dark suits, stepped a little closer from the perimeter. Dad stood in the center of the dance floor. He held a champagne flute. Hello everyone, he said. I just wanted to say a few words. The room went quiet. You know, he began, raising Sarah wasn't always easy. She was a headstrong girl. Always wanted things her way. A few nervous chuckles. But, he continued, pivoting to Brenda, I've learned a lot about family recently. My beautiful wife Brenda has taught me that family is about respect. And boundaries. He raised his glass to Brenda. She beamed. So, I'm happy we could host you all here today at our estate. Enjoy the hospitality. And Sarah, try not to make too much of a mess of the yard. He laughed. It was a joke. But it wasn't. It was a power move. Reminding me publicly that I was a guest on his turf. The crowd laughed politely, but I saw faces cringe. My mom looked like she wanted to throw a knife. I stood up. My legs felt solid. I walked over to the DJ booth. I took the microphone. Thanks, Dad, I said. My voice echoed through the tent. It really is a beautiful property, isn't it? It is, someone yelled. And you've been so comfortable here, I said, looking at him. We have, Dad said, smiling. He thought this was a tribute. I actually have a gift for you, I said. Since you've been so distinct about your role in my life this week. I motioned to Jess. She walked over, holding the cream-colored envelope. The room was silent. People love a gift reveal. Dad looked confused but pleased. He probably thought it was a check. Or a honeymoon trip for him and Brenda. I walked up to him. I handed him the envelope. Open it, I said. How? He asked. Now, I said. I think everyone should know how much I appreciate your tenancy. He tore open the envelope. He pulled out the document. He unfolded it. He adjusted his glasses. I watched his face. I watched the blood drain out of it. It went from flush to pale in 3 seconds. He read the header. Notice to terminate. What is this? He whispered. Read it, I said. Not into the mic. Just to him. Sarah, what is this? He said louder. Brenda leaned in. She read it over his shoulder. Eviction, she screeched. The word cut through the silence. The band stopped playing. Eviction, someone whispered at a nearby table. You can't do this, Dad hissed. It's my house. I raised the microphone. Actually, I said, addressing the room. It's not. I turned to him. I bought this house 3 years ago, Dad. Phoenix Properties LLC. That's me. I paid the down payment. I pay the mortgage. I pay the taxes. You pay. Well, actually, you haven't paid rent in 6 months. Gasp. A literal gasp from the crowd. Sarah, stop, Dad said. He looked panicked. Not here. You wanted to cancel my wedding via text message because Brenda felt disrespected, I said. My voice was steady. You told the planner you were the landlord and refused to sign for the tent. You tried to ruin this day. I took a step closer. So I'm giving you what you wanted. You wanted to set boundaries? Here is the ultimate boundary. You have 30 days to vacate my property. Brenda lunged. You lying little bee. Security was there instantly. One guard stepped in front of me. The other stepped in front of Brenda. Ma'am, the guard said. Step back. Dad was shaking. You'd evict your own father? On your wedding day. You refused to walk me down the aisle, I said. You treated me like a tenant in my own investment. You let her, I pointed to Brenda, disrespect my mother and me in a house I provide for you. I pointed to the paper in his hand. That's legal notice. 30 days. If you're not out by August 15th, the sheriff comes. Happy wedding day. I turned around. Hey, I said. Play Hit the Road Jack. Okay, I didn't say that. That would have been too cheesy. I said, DJ, please play my mother's favorite song. It was Respect, by Aretha Franklin. Almost as good. Dad and Brenda stood there for a moment. Paralyzed. People were staring. Not with pity. With judgment. The illusion was shattered. The rich estate owner was revealed to be a squatter who didn't pay his bills. Brenda realized she wasn't the lady of the manor. She was the guest of a woman she had insulted for 3 years. They didn't make a scene. They couldn't. They had no leverage. Dad crumpled the paper, shoved it in his pocket and grabbed Brenda's arm. They walked out of the tent. They walked into the house. And 20 minutes later I saw them leaving with 2 suitcases. They went to a hotel. Probably a cheap one. I wasn't paying for it. The rest of the party? It was legendary. The tension broke. Everyone knew. Everyone saw. My cousins came up to me. Did you really buy this place? Yeah, I said. Damn, my cousin Joey said. Boss move. The fallout wasn't immediate silence. It was noise. So much noise. The next morning my phone blew up. Flying monkeys. That's what they call them. Relatives who do the narcissist's bidding. My Aunt Linda, Dad's sister, called me. How could you, she screamed. He's your father. He's an old man. He's 58, Linda, I said. And he's not helpless. He's just entitled. He has nowhere to go. He has 30 days to find somewhere, I said. That's more notice than he gave me for the wedding. I didn't back down. I didn't apologize. I changed the Wi-Fi password remotely. Petty? Yes. Satisfying? Immensely. I saw the notification on my router app. Brenda's iPhone, disconnected. Dad's iPad disconnected. Smart TV disconnected. Good luck watching Netflix, guys. Monday morning I got a call from Dad. He sounded different. Small. Sarah, he said. Can we talk? Is Brenda on the line? I asked. No. Hey. We can talk. I didn't know you felt this way, he said. Dad, I said. I have the receipts. I have the texts. You tried to blackmail me on my wedding day. You chose her ego over my happiness. And you did it while living on my dime. I'm sorry, he said. It sounded practiced. I appreciate the apology, I said. But the notice stands. Sarah, please. We can't afford a deposit on a new place. Brenda's credit is not great. And mine is shot. Sell the Corvette, I said. What? The lease. Get out of it. Or sell your golf clubs. Or ask Brenda to sell her purses. You have assets. You just choose not to use them because you prefer using mine. You're being cruel. I'm being a landlord, I said. And I'm selling the house, Dad. That was the kicker. I wasn't just evicting them. I was cashing out. The market in the Hamptons had spiked. The house I bought for $310,000? It was now appraising for $650,000. I'm listing it next week, I said. My realtor will be there on Tuesday to take photos. Please make sure the live laugh love signs are down. He hung up. They moved out on day 29. I didn't go. I sent my property manager to do the walkthrough. The report came back. House is broom clean. Minor damage to master bedroom drywall. Looks like a fist hole. Keys left on counter. I sold the house 2 months later. Full ask. $650,000. After paying off the mortgage and fees, I cleared over $300,000 in profit. I used the money to pay off my own mortgage in the city. And I started a college fund for my future kids. Kids who will never be used as leverage. Where are they now? Dad and Brenda are living in a 2-bedroom apartment in New Jersey. Dad got a job. A real job. He works at a car dealership. Sales. He's good at talking, so he's doing okay. Brenda. She left him 3 months after the eviction. Turns out the soulmate connection wasn't as strong when there wasn't a Hamptons estate attached to it. She moved in with a personal trainer she met on Instagram. Dad calls me sometimes. We talk. It's polite. But it's different. The power dynamic is gone. He knows he can't lie to me. He knows I'm not his ATM. He knows that if he pushes me, I push back. Last Christmas he sent me a card. No check. No gift. Just a card. It read, "Sarah, hope you and Mike are well. Proud of you." It was the first honest thing he'd sent me in years. I keep the eviction notice in a frame in my home office. Not the one I gave him. The copy. It hangs right next to my wedding photo. Some people think it's weird. Why would you frame a legal document? They ask. I tell them the truth. That's not a legal document, I say. That's a declaration of independence. I looked at the text message one last time before I deleted it. It's my house. My rules. He was right. It was my house. And those were my rules. I closed the laptop. My cat Barnaby jumped onto the desk and knocked over my water glass. It spilled all over the freshly printed sale documents for the house. I watched the water soak into the paper. I didn't get mad. I just laughed. It's okay, Barnaby, I said. I can print another one. As I could do anything. I was free.